interesting. Nick, let's talk about the UPDF Amendment Bill 2025. I was in Parliament when Jacob Oboth was presenting the bill. I also know that a certificate of financial implication was tabled, and the Speaker has directed the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee and the Committee on Defense to look into the bill, so consultations are going to make on. So for my audience that perhaps hasn't gotten a copy of the 146-page document with about 80 plus clauses, and I'm happy that you've come with one, talk to us, what are the key cores of this bill?
So first, a little bit of history would be important for people to understand what this bill is about. In November of last year, the UPDF had tabled in Parliament a Uganda People's Defence Forces Amendment Bill 2024 that sought to amend large sections of the UPDF Act. The UPDF Act itself was a product of a defense review process that in 2005 gave rise to what was called the Defense White Paper. The Defense White Paper gave us the new structure of the army in this country. It was what was supposed to be a process to professionalize the army. That Defense White Paper gave us the UPDF Act. And so the amendments tabled in 2024 was a third attempt to try and amend the law to refine the UPDF and create new structures within the armed forces. Now, in December of last year, the Supreme Court gave us the judgment it gave us that nullified several sections of the UPDF Act, especially the ones in reference to the military justice system. When the Supreme Court delivered its judgment, the executive then withdrew the bill that they had tabled before Parliament with a view of incorporating the decision of the Supreme Court. And they have now returned with a bill that seeks to incorporate the decision of the Supreme Court in as far as military justice is concerned and the trials of civilians in military courts. And that is now the bill that we have before Parliament. Now, that bill contains several progressive provisions that I think should not be lost in this discussion. The first is that the bill seeks to cure an illegality that has been perpetuated in the army for a very long time.
The Special Forces Command.
The Special Forces Command was an illegal entity in the armed forces. It didn't exist in the structures of the army. It was being commanded by the president's son for a very long time. And members of parliament, including the Kira Municipality MP, the Honorable Semu Junganda, had been talking about that illegality for a very long time. So the bill seeks to provide some sort of legal cover for the Special Forces Command and creates now a Special Forces Command that is now a legal structure of the armed forces at the same level as other commands in the armed forces, like the Air Force, like the land forces. So the SFC now gets a place in the UPDF Act.
In the structure.
In the structure of the armed forces.
And therefore, they are under the command of the CDF.
Yes.
You know, previously we would see that, you know, SFC is commanded differently, you know, and yet the army itself has a central command of the CDF. Yeah. It was a little bit shabby.
It's difficult. It was shabby in the sense that operational and command structures of the former armed forces were really under the command of the SFC, functionally. To the extent that military communications and vital installations were being commanded by the SFC. So the commander of any unit of the army could not have any communication in the army communication systems without the approval of SFC. The commanders couldn't move forces across the country without the command of the SFC. So that illegality is now what is being cured in the UPDF Act. Ostensibly now, if it is passed, the SFC will now be under the formal command of the army structure.